All right, let's head to the markets now and see how the numbers look at intraday. We begin, of course, with Nigeria, the NGX. We see that it's a recovery in the green, almost 0.5%. If we could have the numbers right there at 0.48%, at 99,227 at intraday. I think we shouldn't get too excited because we've learned now that we could see the NGX green at intraday, and by the close of trade, the color has changed. You know, it's still not a bull run at the NGX. We've enjoyed that for a bit. So it's 0.48% in the green at 99,227. At least we've recovered back to 99,000. But this is so close that anything could happen. We could hit back to 98,000. South Africa is back at 73,000. It lost this level and was at 72 most of last week. It gained 0.42% at intraday. If we could see the other markets, Egypt is very positive, 1.78% at 29,576.28, while Kenya, this is Friday's close. We discussed Kenya elaborately on Friday as to what's happening with that market. So the investor sentiment around there, and it seems like in Nigeria, the NSE, that's the Nairobi Stock Exchange, does not really capture the investor sentiment or the economic gauge, as they say. The stock market is supposed to tell the economic gauge of a country, but it doesn't really work that way, according to the analysts we spoke to on Friday. 93.25% is what we have for Kenya, up 0.85%. That's Friday. Before we leave here, let's stick to Nigeria and look at auction. There was an auction last week. Of course, more of the government's effort back here in Nigeria to mop up the cash liquidity in circulation, and they've been doing that through a lot of instruments, the treasury bill, the bond, and the auction. So there was an auction. The result was out on Friday. We have Bosun Bembe now from Access Bank, fixed income dealer with Access Bank, to give us the details of that. Hi, Bosun. Good afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you, Bosun. So tell us about that auction on Friday, the details of it. We heard it was oversubscribed.
Yes, you're right. It was oversubscribed. So we saw a subscription of over 1 trillion. You know, we've got into this era of 1 trillion every time there is an auction, both NTB or OMO auction. So the day before the auction, there was a meeting between the CBN and foreign portfolio investor, where the CBN governor promised that there will be frequent issuance of OMO Bs. And the next day, the HOMO auction happened. And what was surprising about the HOMO was the volume. Despite the fact that the market was in repo, we saw subscription of over 1 trillion on the 361-day paper, and the stop rate increased significantly, so to 21.5% on the long tenor paper. So the stop rate on the 179 paper closed at 19.5, while on the 95 it closed at 19%. So 21.5% discount rate implies about 27% yield. That is fantastic. So this is a way the CBN is trying to entice the foreign portfolio investor. At the meeting that the governor had with the foreign portfolio investor, the governor promised then there will be a positive real return. So, and this is the way to get these investors to get positive real return. Inflation is at 29 levels, and the yield on this instrument is about 27. So we're almost closing that gap. So I think it's a very good one. Most of the things that the foreign portfolio investor they've asked for, the governor has done his part, and I think we started seeing the result on Friday on the FX. We have a lot of inflows because the settlement for this auction is same day. So we expect that this week there will be an NTB auction, given that the CBN and DMO, they now work together. So we expect that at this NTB auction, the previous one closed at 19. So we expect similar increase in the NTB auction that will happen on Wednesday. So the stop rate there should get close. So if it's not 21.5, at least we're expecting like a 21%.
Yeah, so there's still a negative right there, you know, because inflation is at 29.9, and you still have the rates lower than that. That's still a discouraging factor. Do you see the yields hitting the inflation rate? That would be, I mean, even if it's at par.
I think at least if you compare the gap to what we used to have. This is a significant improvement. So about 2% negative rate return, I don't think is something that should be a discouragement, in my opinion. And when you look at, by the time we start seeing the impact of the CBN policies on on the inflation, though, inflation is a lagging indicator. So you might not see the impact now. Probably by April, you might start to see the April or May inflation will start trending that. So I think the yield is fantastic, 27%. Even for if you are lending to corporate, most of the corporate will not be able to borrow at 27%. So, and the government is willing to borrow at 27%, I think is a good one. And there is no excuse for maybe a portfolio investor that is looking to do carry trade. There is no excuse for them not to come. The only thing they can say maybe the onshore NDF that we used to have before, which they can use to hedge their FS risk, that is not yet available. But there is offshore NDF for them that they can actually buy to hedge any FS with them, mainly from the carry trade.
Well, obviously, we'll be looking to see the result of that, especially, we're looking for FX from everywhere. So if it comes from this quarter, obviously, we'll be glad. But thank you so much, Wasobe, for sharing your thoughts and perspective with us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.